Do not use micro.
वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। दन्ति प्रचोदयात्। एकदन्ताय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो 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 दन्ति प्रचोदयात्।
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session, and as usual, we will start with a mind relaxation technique. As we are all aware, these are the days of Ganesh Chaturthi, so we will adopt the meditation technique of connecting to a positive source. Every time our mind is connected to something, and whatever our mind is connected to, depending on the quality of that object or that situation or that person, whatever we are connecting to, depending on the nature and quality of that, that's the kind of thoughts that come in our mind, and thoughts lead to how we feel. A good thought will lead to feeling good. A negative thought leads to feeling negative. And an empowering thought empowers us. So we have a deity Ganesha in front of us. And we all have experienced that whenever we go to temples and stand in front of deities, how we feel. So let's understand the meaning of Ganesha, the spiritual significance. And what does Ek Danta actually signify? It's a quality of self-confidence, of self-protection, of keeping self free of obstacles. And that is only possible when we have faith in God, and when every situation we are able to face with the courage and the confidence that we get by keeping God in our thoughts. So Ekadanta really means confidence in one. Ganesh is also known as Lambodar, one with a big belly. And that signifies that we have the power to accommodate and absorb everything, all dualities, ups and downs, insults and praises, failures and successes. Because the stomach digests every kind of food. Likewise, it's a symbolism of digesting. That means being able to accommodate and digest any situation. We all have these qualities in ourselves. And when we see Ganesha, and these days of Ganesh Chaturthi, we have to keep reminding ourselves, this is how Ganesha is, this is what Ganesha represents. And I can be that too. So let's awaken these qualities within us. Because as we think, so shall we become. So for a few minutes, let's just quietly accept our own form, which is Ekdanta, faith and confidence in one God and one soul. Lambodar, which is accommodating every situation, all dualities, So whenever we find ourselves in front of deity Ganesha, let's follow his footsteps and bring his qualities in our life. With this silence, let's start the session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Raki, for sharing that mind relaxation technique with us and explaining the significance of Ganesh Chaturthi. So it was really nice to know such a meaningful significance of Ganesha. So we'll get started with our session now. First of all, let me check if you're able to hear me properly. Please do put on the chat box if you're able to hear me. Okay, cool. So welcome everybody. So this is our second session on data analysis. We'll get started. But before we get started, I want to I want to spend a few minutes with you about our previous session and do a quick recap and take your feedback if you would want to discuss around any of the things. So I had shared a few questions on the group uh, just for the revision purpose, which were like quiz kind of questions. So before we get into today's agenda, can somebody from the audience unmute themselves and explain about the key items, the key topics that we covered in our previous session? Would anybody want to take a lead on that and talk about the important things that we discussed and how they found it useful? Do we have anybody who would want to unmute themselves and speak about the last session, so that we basically get to know that we are driving these sessions in the right manner? If you have any specific feedback, also you can call it out by unmuting yourself, so that we can know that we are in the right direction and we are explaining all the things in the right manner. Okay, so if nobody is coming forward, let me ask, I think we discussed around Matplotlib, data visualization. So can anybody tell what is Matplotlib? I had posted a query in the WhatsApp group with a couple of options. Is Matplotlib a function, operation, library, or what is it? So only a few people answered. So can more people answer right now so that we can have a interactive session? You can even answer it on the chat if you are feeling shy to unmute yourself. Can we quickly know what Matplotlib is and how that is helpful? Otherwise, I will assume that I need to do a complete revision of Matplot, because if nobody is answering, I will assume that nobody was able to understand exactly how that was. Would anybody want to make a quick guess on the chat box? Okay. Then we also had covered other than Matplotlib, I had also posted a query around. Just allow me a minute. Yeah. So let me just go and check what was the other question. Yeah, other question was like, what does the Matplotlib library help us with? So does it help us with some kind of histogram, shapes, or graphs or visualization? So, okay, Ashish has responded. Manjul has also responded. Let me just take a quick look. So Manjul says it is basically a library which helps in data visualization. Yeah, that's right, Manjul. So Matplot is a library in Python that helps us visualize the data. So some of the people who had answered the query, they had answered it wrongly, saying that it will help in like creating histograms or shapes. No, it does not create that kind of a visualization, it visualizes the graphs for you. It will create line graphs, bar graphs, chart graphs, or stack graphs, columnar graphs. You can create those graphs with respect to your data, and that kind of visualization the Matplotlib basically helps you with. Now, that was all about our previous session. So let me now start with today's agenda. So today's agenda, but before that, how many of us are having Anaconda installed in our system? Can people who acknowledge with +1 on chat who have installed, and the people who have not installed, they can put no on chat. Okay, great, Manjul. Nice, Ashish. And okay, good to see many people have installed. Okay. So it will be really great if you will be able to install Anaconda, because that is how we will be able to basically simplify our learning. Otherwise, you will have to take a long path in learning. Now, because I will be sharing artifact with you today, and my expectation would be that you would be performing the same steps in parallel. So the people who have already installed, they will be able to do, but the people who have not installed, I would request them to kindly pay attention into what is happening, so that later on you can go and you can basically execute those steps again after installation of Anaconda, so that you can also continue. So welcome Shweta and Rupali. No problem if this is your first class. This is only our second session, so you haven't lost much. You'll be able to pace up. So, but do install the Anaconda before our next session, so that we are able to keep everybody on the same page, and we are able to take everybody ahead in an equal manner. All right. So, thank you. Now, let me share my screen. Guys, it would be great if we can keep this session interactive. So try to be interactive on chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, do unmute, speak up, come forward. That is very appreciated. So yeah, definitely if you feel like coming forward, don't hesitate to do so. If you have any queries or anything as such. So let me know if you are able to see my screen. Can you please confirm if you're able to see my screen? Okay, cool. What do you see on my Excel? What do you see on my screen? So what is that? Yeah, and so beyond Excel, yeah, I know this is Excel, but beyond Excel, what is this that you see? Can anybody make any guess, or anybody try to make some suggestions, or try to make some guesses? What do you see on my Excel? It's not just ID. Yeah, that's right. It is a CSV file with data, with some data. Yeah. So somebody mentioned Olympic. Yeah, somebody mentioned Olympic.
Sports data.
Yeah. So thanks, Ashish. You answered it right. So this is Olympics data for the last 100 years. So such data is easily available on internet. So I have taken a dump from one of the sources which provide CSV dumps for meaningful data. So there is a lot of data publicly available for your experimentation and testing. So this is an Olympics data for last 100 years. but this is raw data. So what does this data contain? This contains the name of the players, their genders, their age, height, weight details, from which country did they participate, and in which Olympics did they participate, whether it was a summer, winter, which was the year they participated in, what was the season of Olympics they participated, where was that Olympic hosted, and what was the sport event they were participating into, and then whether that particular player won a medal or not. So if a player won a medal, then it has an appropriate entry here. Otherwise, if he did not won any medal against that particular sport or event, then there is a not applicable field here. So why I'm sharing this data with you? Can anybody make any guesses? What is that you expect out of this data in our session? Can anybody come forward and make any guesses? What are we gonna do with this data based upon our previous session? What are all the? But before you make a guess, what can we do with this data? I want to know what are your understanding? What all can we do with this data? So can you come forward and yeah, go ahead.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, Vinod.
My feeling is that what we are going to do is data. We are trying to make say sort of a database which is meaningful, and on that we can put the queries.
Yeah, that makes some sense. You are partially right, Vinod. Meaningful insights, retrieving meaningful insights is one of the important things that we are definitely gonna do. So thanks for answering that. But other than Vinod, anybody wants to come forward and speak up? What all can we do with this data? What do you feel about this data, and how do you feel this can be improved? This can be enhanced? Yeah, go ahead, Ashish.
Yeah, actually with this database, we'll try to analyze and make insights about this data. And additionally, we can have it, into present it in a visualization mode also. We can have that graphical representation of analysis of that this
Very
data.
well said. Yeah, that's right. So thanks, Vinod and Ashish, for coming forward. So this is how our session becomes more interactive and fun to learn with. So I will open a notepad quickly, and in that particular notepad, let's try to summarize some of the questions, some of the meaningful insights that we can retrieve. Now, I will not write those questions. You will have to help me write those questions. So this is the data. Now, I have to identify meaningful insights from this data. Okay. Now, let me show you how much this data is. So do you know that this particular file, this CSV file is 20 MBs, and 20 MBs is my voice breaking for all, or it is clear? Can you please quickly let me know on the chat? People who are not able to receive my voice properly. Okay, cool. Yeah. So this is a CSV file of 20 MB size. Now, people who were there in our last session, can you please let me know what was the size of our CSV that we were working on? It only had 30 rows. How many of you remember this? The last CSV that we were working on in our previous session, it only had 30 rows, right? Now, how many rows does this CSV have? Let's take a count. So can anybody count it for me and put it on the chat in wordings? What is the row count that is being shown here? So it is ones, tens, 100,000, 10,000, lakh. So this count is 2,71,000 and 117 rows are there. Now, if you have 2 lakh plus rows. So you have 2 lakhs plus rows here. And if you have to analyze this amount of data, then you need some kind of automation, you need some kind of a coding platform which can help you simplify that effort for you. If you'll go ahead with this data and start analyzing on Excel, then even Excel will not be able to perform in an enhanced manner. Its performance will also degrade if it has to process such amount of data. Now this amount of data, 2 lakh rows only contributes to 20 MBs of data. What if this had, let's say, 10 lakh rows, or maybe rows in millions? Then would you be able to open that big CSV file in an Excel sheet? If you'll try to open that Excel sheet in your laptop might crash. So I'm telling you a fact. Your Excel might crash. Your system might start hanging, because Excel is not a tool to basically work with such huge amount of data. And even if you have a significant amount of data, let's say 1,000 rows, even then your Excel would be of around KBs. It will not go in MBs. But here, since we have 2 lakh plus rows, our CSV is in MBs. And the data that we have is practical data. It is not a not impractical data. So this will lead to some meaningful insights that have happened in real world with respect to Olympics, right? Now, this was the explanation overview about the data that we are having. So now what is the first insight that we can get? So for example, see, we have player names, we have their gender, we have their age. So we will start basic first of all. Starting with basic, I can identify what are the, which are the youngest players in the data. So this can be one of the meaningful insight. Which were the youngest players in the data? And similarly, I can identify which players are the eldest when they participated in the Olympics. Similarly, I can identify some basic insights like this: which player has the maximum height, which player has the least weight. So things like this. Now, can anybody of you from the participants help me prepare help me prepare such a question so that we will be able to work that insight out during our session today? Would anybody of you want to come forward, and out of this huge data, would you want to recommend me any insight that we should experiment upon? You have all the data in front of you. Would you want to make any such example, suggest any such example to me which we should work it out in our today's session?
May I speak?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we can have insights about country-wise medal won by individuals in different age groups.
That is a great point. That is a great point. Yeah, medal wise. Okay.
And then we can have a further segregation if you want, like into like different gender or by different weight.
Your voice is breaking for me, Ashish. Is it the same, or other people are
Okay.
also feeling his voice breaking?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Can't hear you, Ashish, properly.
Hello. Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear.
I think I had a network glitch. Just allow me a minute.
I think we can do one consolidated thing for year-wise, for which country has won the gold medal and which category of the sports.
Hello. Yeah, I am back now. Sorry about that. I had a network glitch. Are you able to hear me clearly now?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for confirming. So let's get back to our this. Yeah. So very well said, Ashish. I missed upon some of the items, but I heard you well. So these are some of the recommendations that you suggested, like we can pull out country-wise insights, medal-wise insights, and then since like we are Indians, we can also look out for India-specific insights, like where were the areas or events where India performed well, what is the India-specific medal count for appropriate sport events. So like this, we can pull out different data. So
Can I,
yeah, but
can I
anybody wants
speak?
to speak? Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Can I? So we can make it localized to the extent that I can know that this area I'm representing may be Kurukshetra. So how many players, if I go with 100 years, the Haryana was not existing. It was a Punjab or a Mahapunjab when Himachal even was a part of it. So I can localize and find out the people who were from my area and which year.
So Vinod, I think you have a good point, but I would want to say to you is that since this is our raw data, now
Yeah.
see what is the possibility, what is the probability that we can dig down, like how much is that level we up to which we can dig down. So
Yes,
if
sir.
you are talking about the region, then the least thing that we have is city. We don't have any further like we
Let's
don't.
okay, we can find out that how many people from India or Delhi have won the medal and what was their age group and the event's name.
Yeah, definitely we can find with respect to team, but going within districts and localized area might not be possible because that is the limitation of your raw data, the source data. The source data does not have
So
that data.
I,
Yeah.
I am sorry to interrupt that I
No, no,
don't have a due to my own limitation Araconda
no, that
installed
is
on the and I'm not able to see. But what I'm trying to say is based on the data and the Excel sheet format and all those things, we can make lot many queries whatever we feel like, and whatever suits our needs. So
yeah.
all the queries
So
can be made.
no, yeah, I would say that very well that you came forward and spoke about this point because this will basically help us analyze, understand how the raw data is crucial in reaching the end insights. So you raised a
Yeah.
very well point, but we'll see how much we can do. And I agree to your point. We can at least specifically pull out the country-wise insights that we'll try to pull. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else has any points to make before we get started?
Can we find out kind of a trend analysis like in a summer of, say, for example, 1900 or 1920s? How many people got the gold medal or in a particular sports, and now how many people are kind of a trend like increasing, which country is getting more into certain sports,
You
getting
mean
ahead in a
you mean trends like which country won how many medals? What are the top 5 countries which won gold medal? What are the top countries like top participants which participated into from which countries, and what is their count specifically? Like these trends, right?
Yeah, and the country is like, for example, if I take India in 1920s or 1940s, which sports were more popular among Indians getting gold medal, and now which direction they are moving in terms of say 2020. So, for example, I'm just giving one example. In later years, where the countries, which sports are people are getting more medals in that area.
Right. So yeah,
That may
that
be a
is
complex one, I guess, little, isn't it?
yeah. So we will be starting with basics. Don't worry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
We'll start from basics. We'll take up baby steps towards intermediate, and then we'll definitely move towards the advanced level as well.
Yeah.
So but that is also something we are gonna cover.
Okay.
So we have taken a note of that as well.
Yeah.
So now let's get started. So people who are having Anaconda installed, I would recommend them to initiate the Anaconda and use this launch button for the Jupyter Lab. So that will basically launch a Jupyter notebook for you. And I will share this Excel sheet on chat box for all the people who will be able to work upon it. And if you're not able to work upon it right now, you can basically go ahead and later point of time you can use it. So do I have an option to paste it on chat? So unfortunately, I don't think we have an option to share it on chat. Okay. No problem. So I will share it with you later. Let me showcase you what we are gonna cover today so that you can basically follow that. But yeah, I think I had somewhere in my history from where I had downloaded this data. I can at least share that link with you so that you can download it from there. Yeah, so this is one of the sources from where I pulled this data. Yeah, putting this link on chat. People who can work in parallel with me, you can download data directly from here. This is the same CSV file that I will be using. Okay, now. So I have my Jupyter notebook ready, wherein I have, are you able to see my Jupyter notebook? Okay, so I have my Jupyter notebook ready, and where we will be performing step-by-step instructions to basically read this particular data and to analyze the meaningful insights out of this data. And after performing some of the basic steps, we'll try to look upon some of the recommendations that Vinod or people from you, from the participants have recommended, so that we are basically trying to do some complex scenarios, intermediate scenarios as well, to understand how data can be processed and analyzed through Python and how you can simplify that effort. Now, so I have this notebook wherein I have couple of instructions handy, wherein what I am doing is I am reading my data from this particular Excel file with the help of pandas library. So today we are going to focus on library pandas because pandas helps us process the tabular data. Now you must, if you remember it right, in our last session we had discussed pandas, wherein there are two things, data frames and series. So any two-dimensional data is a part of data frame. So here the variable that you see df, it means data frame. So all the data that we are reading, we are putting it into the data frame, which is a two-dimensional data. Now you can visualize df as your tabular data in your CSV has been saved in df in a tabular format. So that is how you can visualize it. Now what we are doing is we are identifying the player names and their ages. Okay, and then we are further identifying what are the top aged players. So here we are able to see who are the players who participated in Olympics when they were at the most of their age. So here you can see we had these people who participated in this particular age group. He had 97 years of age. I don't know what event did he participate in. And then we are identifying the players who were in their youngest when they participated. So here you can see children from 10 or 11 years of age also participated in Olympics. And then we are basically identifying another meaningful insight, which is what is the count of total medals awarded so far. And then we are able to see that this is the total count. So one request I would want to make before getting started. So don't assume that this data is 100% correct. There could be a, as this data is downloaded from public URL, so there could be certain mismatch or discrepancies we have to take into considerations. So don't think that this is an accurate data. So this can have its limitation as well. Now, on the similar lines, we are now trying to identifying the count of the medal as per the category, gold, silver, and bronze. Out of these total count, what is the type count? Like gold were 13,000 were gold, bronze were 13,000 as well, silver were 13,000 as well. And then which country won maximum gold medals, which it comes out to United States. What are the top 5 countries which won gold medals? So it is United States, Soviet Union, Germany, Italy, Great Britain. And then we are also performing some visualization exercise here, wherein we are visualizing the top 5 countries with their medal count. And here, clearly it shows United States with top gold counts and other countries with their respective counts. Now we are further checking the status for India. How many gold medals were won by India? So the code is basically distributed. So that is how we will be able to focus on a specific code at a particular time. And that is how we will be able to understand that code and learn it and use it forward. So it says so far India had won like 138 gold medals. I'm not sure if that is the actual count. There could be some discrepancies as well. It says now we are checking for what are the events for which India won gold medal. So it says hockey, shooting, man's air rifle, alpinism, mixed alpinism. And what were the winners' names along with the year of participation and the event that they participated in? So these are the winner names. Shaukat Ali, Syed Mushtaq Ali, Richard James Allen. He participated into all the 3 Olympics and won gold. For hockey, shooting, man's air rifle, there is one event for shooting man. So here we are only listing 20 head counts. If we'll increase it, the count would increase. So these are some of the basic steps that we are performing. Now we'll try to replicate these steps initially so that you understand the fundamentals, how this code will be used to basically process the data. So I will create a new runbook for myself and I will select Python. And now people who are working in parallel, you have to start using this data and do the step-by-step instruction with me. So now, what is the first step that we need to do? The first step is that we need to, as we are going to perform analysis on tabular data, which is two-dimensional data, we first need pandas. If pandas will not be there in our system, we will not be able to do that analysis. So first of all, the step one is that install pandas. So that is the first step. And how we can install pandas? There is this command pip install pandas. Now, after writing this code, you can click this play button to execute it. Syntax error. Let me check. So here, yeah, now it has successfully executed. Now we will use pandas to read our data. So this is my Excel file stored at this particular location. To read this Excel file, I will have to import pandas library. So I will import pandas first, import pandas as PD. So now this is an abbreviation that I have given this particular library name, and I will be using PD wherever I want to reference to my data. Now I want to read this particular file, for which what I will do is I will copy this path, and here now what I need to do is there is a function which is known as read Excel function. And in that read Excel function, I need to pass this value. I need to pass this path where my file is, and so that it should be able to read it. Now this read Excel function is a pandas function. So I will need to reference pd.read Excel. Now this will be able to read the data that is stored in this particular file. Now it will be able to read, but I want to save this data somewhere so that I can use from there. Now how to save it somewhere? So that I will use, let's say, a variable data to PD. So now all the data that is present in this particular Excel sheet will be saved to my data variable. Okay. Okay. So now I will basically yeah. So I will basically read this data. Now you see this black button. So since this is a huge file, now it is trying to read this huge 20 MB file, 2 lakh of rows, and this is a huge data to read. So it will take a few minutes to read this data. And the progress you'll be able to see here, it says it is executing one cell. It has already taken 22 seconds, but still continuing. So once this data is completely read, the black button would turn into white. So this might take some time because this will be importing 2 lakh rows into this data variable. So this import will take some time. I think it's gonna take around 1 minute to 2 minutes of time. But once that data is read successfully into our data variable, we can use it further for any analysis that we want to do without any like it won't take any time from there onwards because all the data will have imported itself in data variable. But this is a one-time activity that we have to do. So people, everybody getting what we are doing so far. So it says it took 79 seconds and it has successfully executed one cell. So now we can print this, we can check if the data was loaded or not. We can try to print this data. So you see all the data in our Excel sheet is has been printed here. So it will not be able to print the 2 lakh of rows. It has abbreviated some of the rows, but yeah, it still gives you an idea that all the data that is within your sheet, yeah, it shares that these are the number of rows into 15 columns. So it has not printed everything, but yeah, it is giving you a summary of what is there. So far, everybody understands this, which I've explained, so that I can move ahead and I can ensure that you have understood how to import pandas, use pandas, and read the data. Please acknowledge.
Yeah, Prashant, we have understood, but just one thing I was not able to follow along. So do we need to open the Jupyter notebook?
Yeah, are you using? Are you talking with respect to Anaconda?
Yeah. So
Jupyter Labs actually. Jupyter Lab. So Jupyter Notebook is different. You have to open Jupyter Lab.
okay, in my Anaconda Navigator, it's showing Anaconda notebooks. Jupyter Labs, it's not showing.
It's not showing. In my end, it is showing. Maybe some issue. You might want to refresh. I'm not sure because I'm also using it for the first time. But if that is not there, then I can ask you to focus on the
Which one?
session itself.
Okay, just show me where is it? Okay, Jupyter.
Yeah,
Lab.
Jupyter Lab.
Okay, I'll try to find it.
Okay. Anybody was wanted to ask anything? Yeah. So everybody good with what all we have covered so far?
I would like to ask one question here.
Go
Data
ahead, Shweta.
is, data is keyword here,
Data is variable.
variable. Okay.
Yeah. If you're familiar with programming languages already, then in variable we can store data. In
Okay. Yeah, I am
Python.
very new to Python, so I am.
Okay. No problem. So in other programming language, before declaring a variable, you have to declare what type of variable it would be: integer type, character type, float type, string type. But in pandas, the variables are smart enough to basically adjust themselves as per the data assigned. So when you assign some kind of data to a variable, it automatically converts that data into the required format and store it. So there is no need of assigning any integer or float specific variable in pandas. Okay, so this was all with respect to using library pandas, how to read the data and how to print the data. So we have covered so far importing pandas, read CSV, Excel data, printing data. Okay, now we will focus on other insights. So now, what is the next step that I'm doing here? I'm trying to identify people. I'm trying to filter basically. I don't want to see entire data. So here, if you'll see, it is printing all the columns. I don't want to see all the columns. What if I only want to see name and I only want to see age? How can I do that? So to be able to do that, I need to know how to filter my data. And before I do it on Python, on Jupyter Notebook, it is very important to perform this step on Excel itself. So now, yeah, so if you'll see, this is our data. And how many of you remember that we did pivoting last time? So there is a pivot table operation here that we can click on. And pivot table basically helps us easily analyze our data. So now, since this is a huge file, if I try to do pivot operation here, my Excel has has gone on hang. It is taking long amount of time. It's going round and round. So it seems it is not able to process that data very well, because Excel is not a tool for working with huge amount or bulk amount of data. It can help you if you have some significant data, but if it goes beyond some limit, then its performance will start degrading, like it is happening now. So it is taking a lot of time only to read the name variable. What about other columns that I have? So let's wait for a minute and see if that happens. But meanwhile, if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, Kumar.
Today I have joined it. I'm in software test engineer, but now I want to switch in my career. So data
Okay.
science. So I want to know that data science is better for, or I should go for a Python as a developer, Python developer for web development. Which is the better option for today for me?
So yeah, thanks for coming forward, Kumar. So we'll
Yeah.
definitely take your question, but with the interest of time, I shall move ahead with Python. But yeah, towards the end of this session, I will try to answer your question. Hope that is fine for you.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So now I have performed pivoting operation on my names. So now let's see how many names do we have. It says 1,34,000 players we have, and out of which, if I go to my sheet 1, we had 2,71,000 rows, which means many of the players' names are redundant. So they are repeating. But with the help of pivot, I was able to identify what is the actual count, what is the actual non-redundant count. So here we don't have any duplicate entries, and that is how we were able to identify 1,34,000 unique players we have. And what is their age? So for that, we can drag the age under the rows, and that will give us an insight what age a respective player is having. But yeah, since that this is Excel, it is taking a lot amount of time. So it has taken such a huge amount of time, but still it is showing us the data, like which player is having what age that player is having when he participated. So like this, we have data for all our players, but this is not in a very readable format, or not in a very presentable format that is very readable or absorbable, right? So let's go back to our Jupyter notebook and try to perform the same operation here. So here on Excel also we performed pivot operation, but then now we will perform pivot operation using Python. So in Pandas, we have a function known as pivot table. Using this function, we can perform pivot on our existing tabular data. So let me come to our notebook here, and here we will perform pivot table operation on our data. We will put name on index, which means we'll have the name column on which we will be performing our pivoting operation, and then in the values we will have age, which means on the second column that it will show the age values, and this means aggregate function is equals to first. So the first value mapped to that particular name for that particular age would be shown. So if, for example, let's say if a particular person participated in multiple Olympics, 1920, 1924, 1928, then there might be multiple ages for that particular person would be shown. So here we are only taking the first count that that the Python program will be able to identify. Now, if I run this program, it says df is not defined. Now, do you understand what kind of error it is trying to make? Can anybody suggest me what correction do I need to do here so that I can receive the correct output? Now, this can be a good exercise for you. People who will be able to answer will be able to gain good understanding about Python aspects, pandas especially. Anybody would want to make suggestion to me what I need to correct in this 2 lines of code so that my code, this error is no longer there. Come on, guys.
We need to define this data frame, df as a data frame.
So I think we have already defined data frame. We already defined. I think that output that you see above is coming from that data frame only. Yeah. So Abhishek, no, I mean, yeah. Somebody made the right recommendation that we should convert this df to data. Now, if I will run it, it produced the result for me. Now, do you understand what was the difference? So the difference was that here we had defined data frame as data. The variable was data. So we are reading our Excel sheet in this particular data variable. Now all the data is in data. If we suddenly start using df instead of data, then it will show error because it does not know what df is. Understand? So now it shows us that these are the players with this age group. But still it shows that there are lot many rows that it is not able to show, but this is a summary. Now, if we want to see, let's say if I want to see top 10 rows, so what I can do is I can use this head operation and put 10 here. Now it will show me top 10 rows. Okay. If I want to see only 5, I can put 5. So only it only shows me top 5 people. Now, let's try to identify people who are, this is, where is it? Yeah. Who are the aged out people? So yeah, so here, let's try to understand the code first. So what happens with this code is, see, this pivot table operation is being performed on data. So data.pivot table means that we are trying to perform pivot operation on this particular data, which is 2-dimensional data. We are trying to perform on name, age, and we are trying to identify the first age. And then this is the output. Now what we are doing is, now we are picking up this data, which is there in the pivot table variable. We are picking up this data, and over this data, we are sorting this data in descending order. Ascending equals to false means descending order. And we are using age as a column to sort our data. So now what will happen? It will bring up all the people who participated in Olympics when they were in their elderly phase. So now if I run this data, it shows me top 10 count for players who participated in these age group. He was 97, 96, 88, 81. Okay. So this is how we are able to bring out basic insights. So these are not very complex insights, but we are able to identify what are the basic insights. So similarly, let's proceed ahead with the other insights that we have. Yeah, so we have for the youngest players as well. So here it will, we are using the same pivot table, sort in ascending order. You just need to perform this true, false equals to true. And then if you use it, it prints out the data for the youngest people, youngest players who participated. Now, see, the important thing is that when I am performing this Python operation, it is bringing me the results instantly. It is not taking 5 minutes of time like it was taking on Excel. This is instant, and that was not instant. So that is the advantage of doing data analysis using Python. All right. So now let's move towards some intermediate phase. Let's try to identify some complex insights. Let's try to work out this insight wherein we are identifying the top medal count. Okay. But before this, let's try to play around with this. So see, what I am doing here is I will have to convert this to data. Okay. And before I convert this to data, let me also do one thing. So here I am doing data and I am passing under medal under inverted commas. What does that mean? This means that in my data, which is two-dimensional data, read me the column which is having medal as a header. So for example, if I want to read print if I want to read only medal from my entire Excel sheet, so yeah, this shows me this output. This shows me this output that some of them are having no medals and some of them are having gold medals. It shows there are 22,71,000 entries, out of which there are some of the entries which are having no medals, some of them are having some medals. But then let's try to identify through this Python program code how many were the total medals that were distributed. Now, if what does this function do? So this function would remove all the NaNs. So NaNs mean not applicable. So this will filter out all the NaNs, and then after filtering out all of these, the remaining count would be counted by this function, and then it will print out the exact count of the gold medals that of the all the medals that we have. So when I run this, it says we have total medals awarded as 39,783. Okay, so this is the total count. And if I try to perform the same operation on my Excel sheet, so I will have to do pivot on medal. So I will select this medal. I will perform pivot on medal. I will select medal and select it count of medal. I will filter out not applicable ones. I will filter out the blank ones. So the count it comes is, actual count is 39,783. And what is the count here? 39,783. Okay. So this is correct. Now let's get into the further bifurcation of this count. What are the type of medals for each of their categories? So here we are using value counts function, which would basically count specific to that particular category and would show the result. We'll have to do data. Now it shows that this is the gold medal count, bronze medal count, silver medal count. And this is how we are able to identify how many of them were distributed. So far, this is how we are able to retrieve some basic insights. So all the participants, please let me know if you are able to, you were able to understand all of these basic insights, how to pull and understand these basic insights from our raw data. Do acknowledge, give me a +1 or come on, put on chat if you were able to clearly understand this so far.
This one drop NA, that is, I couldn't understand what is that function.
Okay, let's do the practical here itself. So let me remove this part. Okay. Let me also remove. Okay. Now I have removed that part. Okay. Now what I will do is, if I run this code, it brings me this output. Okay. Now in this output, there are many rows which are not required. Now NA means not applicable. So this is a kind of a null value that is not required for me, because I want to count how many medals are there. I don't want to count how many these not applicables are there. So to remove this, there is a function on pandas which says drop NA, which would remove all the null values. Okay. Now if I will run this code, it basically removes all the non-required values and it sanitizes my data. Now the data that I have is that I need. Now I want to further count how many total medals were basically distributed. For that, I have another function in my pandas, which is count, and now it says 39,783 medals were distributed. So does that make it clear for you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else has any questions, then please come up. I'm assuming that everybody is able to understand. I see people. Could we export specific filter data to a separate CSV file? Yeah, that is also possible, but I'm trying to keep the session basic, Tarun, so that everybody is able to understand the basics first, and then we'll definitely move on to that part once that is the right time. So far, we have covered up these 7 basic insights. Now let's go further. Now let's identify
Excuse me. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question that after we did this PD dot read Excel, have we used the pandas library? Because whether it is in the drop NA, whether it is pivot table underscore table, pivot underscore table, or whether we took sort values, we never again referred PD. So once it is, pandas is just used to extract the data from the Excel to the data frame. After that, pandas is not used.
No, so see, I could be wrong in answering that, but I will answer your query. So here we are importing pandas. Okay. Now the primary purpose of pandas is to process data. So here we are, all the data that we are having in this sheet would be stored in our data variable with the help of pandas library. Now, yeah. So now here, whatever operation that we are performing, like pivot table. So my assumption is that pivot table is an operation within pandas. This is not an operation, not a default Python operation that would work without pandas. That is my understanding is, I will have to recheck it and correct if that is not the case, but this is my understanding and I'm confident that this is the case, but I will recheck it. Now the operations.
Right, Prashant. You're right. So the operations that we do with a data frame, that data frame concepts is coming with pandas. So depending on which libraries you have, right? There are, like when you're using AWS and you're doing data transformation using Glue, they will define their own data frame. So this concept of data frame and the operations that we perform with data frame is part of the functionality that is offered by pandas.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Mukesh, for answering that. So hope that makes clear for you. Okay. So yeah, moving ahead quickly. Let's cover up the other. So yeah, let's try to identify which is the top country that won the most of the gold medals. So here we'll again put our. So here what we are doing is we are basically filtering all the data that are having gold as a where they have won a gold category, wherever gold is mentioned in that particular medal field, and we are storing that particular data in gold medal winners. And then on that particular data, we are doing further, we are counting the team which won the maximum gold. So to explain what we are doing on the first step is, so this is our data. And then what we are doing is, we are basically coming to the medal, and then we are basically excluding NA. Now, all of this data that you see has been stored in gold medal winners. So this is what has been performed in this particular step. After which, now on this data, what we are doing is we are trying to count which is the team. Like we have this team column here, wherein we have all the country names present. So here we are trying to count from with respect to that particular team, and then we are trying to identify the maximum, the topmost count for the count in terms of country and in terms of medal as well. So let me run this code. So it says that country with the most gold medals is United States, and it won 2,474 gold medals. Now, if you were to do it here, it would be a lot more efforts than comparatively. Now, in the interest of time, I would complete all of the further aspects first and then come and reach into queries. So here what I am doing is we are trying to identify the top 5 countries for the gold medals. Sorry, I will have to do data. So the top 5 countries are United States, Soviet Union, Germany, Italy, Great Britain. So like this, we are able to identify that. Now let's visualize them also using Matplot. So here I am using Matplot library as we had discussed in our last session. We had seen some examples for Matplot library. So here we'll try to visualize. So now it visualizes the top 5 countries data, wherein it shows United Nations, United States as the top country who won the most of the golds. And then, yeah, now this is the interesting part. Now we will check status for India. So interested about it. So what we are doing for India right now is we are trying to identify how many medals did India won. Like here team is India and the medal is gold. Store all of that data into this India gold medals, and then we are trying to count the number of gold medals won by India. So it says 138 gold medals were won by India. Don't go on the count. It could have some discrepancy. So now checking into what are the events where India won most of these medals. So here we'll run this code. It says India won around in hockey, air rifle, alpinism, mixed alpinism, and then what we have, yeah, the players, which is the most important one. So for these gold medals, what are the players like that we would want to see? So we are now what we are doing is we are checking all the data where medal is gold, team is India. We are saving the data in gold medal winners, and from there we are basically identifying these 3 columns: name, year, and event, and then we are trying to print them. We are trying to print the first 20 rows, first 20 people. Let's try to do first 30. So sorry about it. I will have to convert it into data. Yeah. So now you get a list of all those people who won gold for India and in which year did they won. So it says starting with 1928, Shaukat Ali won the gold. and that was for hockey, men's hockey. So similarly, we have majorly all the entries for hockey except one, which is shooting men's air rifle, 10 meters. So like this, we are able to reach some basic insights. We are able to process some basic insights, and believe me, this is nothing. This is just through this code, we are just selecting the right data. We are just filtering the right data through this code, and then we are able to bring those insights on our screen right away as an output. So similarly, we have performed some basic insights in our today's session. We have also tried to visualize some of the data. We try to identify some of the key insights, which country won the maximum gold, what were the top 5 countries, which were the eldest players, which were the youngest players. So like this, we have been able to reach some insights. Those were basic. But now, in the interest of time, I think we'll not be able to cover up the intermediate or advanced level of concept at the moment. So we'll try to target those in our next session. But I would let Dr. Mukesh talk about more about pandas and how we can further use these concepts in our upcoming sessions to help you further.
So, just to share with everyone, what Prashant achieved today is he's not only giving the answers, but he's teaching you how to think, which is very important. Because many times, what would happen in practical world is someone will say, analyze this data set. They won't give you these questions as to what to analyze. So the process which we went through, where Prashant was asking the questions, you have to come up with your own questions and find out these answers to these questions. So the more and more these exercise that you do, the more you'll get an understanding of identifying what should be the information that you're looking for and what are the insights. So to extend this, right, we can see, okay, which was the game in which India was winning most of the medals. It started with hockey, but over a period of time, how did that evolve and change? For how many years hockey was the primary sport through which India was winning medals, and now it is more as well. So that way we can do that analysis, and that analysis can help shape the policies, which sports we should promote more, which sports should have more infrastructure, and so on. So many times you have to come up with these questions, and that's part of the analysis. So the more sample case studies that you do, easier you will just get fluent with answering or looking for some of the trends or the information. However, many times when you're working for an organization, business will specifically ask you to create a dashboard in which they want to see some of these key questions answered as key performance indicators, also called as KPIs. And they will define those metrics for you that you have to compute and find those values. Example of key metric performance or key performance indicator as a metric would be the percentage of customer growth. How many new customers did I add in this year versus last year? And what has that growth been over the past 5 years? So that's a key performance indicator, and business will provide that for you. So that way you have to calculate and analyze those data sets. We are starting with very simple. So in this example, what you saw, you just had one file. But in reality, you would have multiple files and you would have to join it. So one of the most common interview questions is, uh, what kind of tools have you used to do data analysis, and how did you do data analysis? So the more case studies you do, you can better answer that. But another way to answer that question is, you can do data analysis in multiple ways. One of the ways is, which before pandas and big data platforms came in, one of the most common ways we did that was using SQL. SQL is structured query language. So you can run SQL queries on your data in a database and try to find those answers. But the more data, as the data sets get larger and larger, it could take a while as well. So that's why some of this data, you're getting it from multiple systems. And instead of running that SQL on a database, you would run this SQL analysis in a data warehouse, which has a lot more servers and CPU, and you can do that calculation. But those data warehouses were on-prem and they were very expensive. So that workload, data warehousing workload, moved to the cloud. So previously, organizations used Teradata, Netezza. Those are some of the common data warehouses. And when the big data platform came, Hive was most of the common data warehousing solution. Nowadays, if you go in any organization, most of the clients, they will use Snowflake as a cloud data warehousing solution. And they can use a lot of clients, they will use Databricks as well. But mostly the number one software is Snowflake. And then some of the clients, they'll use BigQuery, which is on the Google Cloud Platform. Or some clients, if they are on AWS, they'll use Redshift Spectrum. And some, if they are just used to being on Azure, they'll use Azure Synapse. But the most popular one is Snowflake. But that's one way you can analyze the data. So the more tools and techniques you know how to analyze the data, you're a better data analyst. In addition to SQL, what we are studying and seeing over here is Python. So I want to just give you the big picture so you know where Python fits in. So there are few things SQL can do really well, and there are few things where SQL can become really slow as well, especially when you're joining large amount of data sets. So there's something called as SQL hell, or when you're joining a lot of data sets, it gets slower and slower. So that's why many times we will use what's called as a denormalized data sets to improve performance. But another way to analyze this data is using Python. So as you can saw, when you're doing Python and you're doing this analysis, you can do all this analysis in Excel as well. So to answer that interview question, what tools have you used? You can say you've used Excel. You can do data analysis using Excel, but you need to understand the limitations. So when it comes to large data sets, if you've got more than 64 million lines of code, lines of rows of data, it's not even going to open the file. You're going to see how slow it gets, and Prashant gave a demonstration of that, which is really good because you can actually see how slow it is. And once you get into the terabyte range, SQL is out of the question. But if you're doing a proof of concept and you just want to see how to best analyze the data, we don't know if pivot would be the best way or not. So in that case, if it's a small sample of the data that you want to try it out without even writing any code, then Excel is a good option. But as a programmer, you can get a lot more power by using Python. Many organizations, they will use R as well. R is another programming language, but Python is more popular than R. But a lot of from the academia and the universities, they tend to use R as well. You can use visualizing capability in R as well. But again, Python is most preferred as well. So that would be the answer. I've used Excel, I've used SQL, I've used Python. In if you're using Databricks, which is managed service for Spark, in which you can create a data frame which is consuming 16 GB of memory RAM, not disk space. 16 GB RAM, you can have a data frame which is spanning over clusters, over each node in a cluster. You can do that large memory processing using Databricks. In that case, these data frames, they become very handy and practical to do all this data analysis. So Pandas is very much the most popular library used for data analysis, including pivot tables. So pivot table is a very common tool where you can pivot what data is in rows and how many columns you have. Those columns now become the rows, and what was in rows becomes the columns. That's what a pivot table is. So I posted the link to just show you what functions you can perform on a data frame, and it's a huge list. Many times when you want to do numerical calculations, pandas will do that as well. But if you want to do linear regression and a lot of mathematical combinations, you would use other Python programming libraries in addition to pandas. So typically you will use pandas to load the file, a CSV file, put in a data frame. You might have other CSV files. You load that in a separate data frame. And I think one of the sessions we had shown an exercise where you can join data on those data frames using a SQL inner join. You can do an outer join as well. So now you get the power of SQL and Python as well. And some data analysis is easier using SQL, some it is easier in Python. And what's the beauty of using notebooks is you can mix and match it. If you're using Databricks, you can write part of your code in SQL, part of it could be in Python. And using pandas, you can mix it. You can load the data in data frame and you can write SQL type query or implement that logic on those data frames as well. So it becomes very powerful at being able to merge the data and do this kind of analysis. So a common library used along with pandas is NumPy, NUMPY. If time permits, we'll cover that as well. But it's so easy now that you know how to read a CSV file. You can download so many data sets and play with it. I always keep repeating, you can't learn how to swim by watching YouTube videos. You have to jump in the water. Similarly, you can't just learn programming by having the instructor do it for you. You have to do it yourself. The good thing is we have a Python WhatsApp group. You can post your questions over there. If you still have problems, we can discuss it in this forum. But you have to do it. Because if you don't do it, this fear of programming will just keep on piling up. And then you get a feel good factor, but you'll never be confident. So the best way to learn programming is start with simple and actually do it yourself. Once you start doing it, your confidence will keep on growing. And you've got a network, you've got a support to do all the problems, to do it yourself. So any problems that you come across, you can get that support to solve it. So I'll strongly urge you to practice it yourself. Thank you. Any questions? I think there was one question which was asked, should I do Python programming or should
Yeah,
I become a
Tarun had
data
asked that
scientist?
question.
Yeah, so I'll answer that. So data analysis, you need to know Python. Without Python, you just can't jump into data analysis. So it would be good to become a Python programmer first and then become a data analyst. That's why we conducted those series of sessions to learn basics of Python and then become data analyst. And a good data analyst not only knows how to analyze the data, but there's something called as data storytelling. You're telling that information in a way which is easy to understand. So visualization is one easy way to tell that story, because there's a Chinese proverb, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. By visualizing that information, it becomes very easy to understand what's happening. So data analysis is one part of it's using Python, but you also want to do predictive analytics. So there are three types of analytics. One is descriptive. Descriptive analytics is saying what happened. So what you're looking at, the questions that we analyze in the data was how many medals did we won? Who won what, which country won what medals? All these type of questions are helping us analyze what happened in the past in that data set. That comes in the category of descriptive analytics. The next category of question is predictive analytics. The type of questions you would ask in predictive analytics is which country is most probable to win the most number of gold medals in the coming Olympics? So you don't have the data for it, but you're predicting based on the past behavior what will happen in future. So there are a lot of algorithms which will predict that. So that's where data scientists come in, because they not only have a good understanding of how to analyze the data using pandas, but they know which mathematical algorithms to use to be able to predict what's going to happen. And in business, there are a lot of applications where you want to predict. For example, when you're applying for a loan, we have information, how much salary you make, you be making your credit card payments on time. But would you be able to make payments if you were to take this loan? So you're predicting that based on your past behavior, the bank is making a decision, and it's predicting whether yes, how probable you are to continue making your payments for this particular loan amount. So there's a lot of analysis that goes in, and one of the that question is, how much can you afford to pay? Would you be able to pay? So all that comes in predictive analytics. The third category of analytics is prescriptive analytics. Easy way to remember that is when you go to a doctor, the doctor prescribes medicine, right? Similarly, prescriptive analytics, you're asking the question which you're telling what to do, right? So descriptive was how many medals did India win? Predictive was how many medals could India win in the coming Olympics? Prescriptive analytics would be what sports category should India focus on to maximize the number of gold medals in the coming Olympics? So you're prescribing, you're telling what should India do and which sports category to focus on to maximize the number of gold medals. That question, that category of question comes in prescriptive because you're saying, based on this analysis, you should focus on this. You're telling what to do. Just like how a doctor prescribes a medication, you're saying, you should focus on this sports category or on this particular sports based on all this data analysis. So one simple way to break your data analysis is breaking up questions into descriptive analytics, what happened. Second category is predictive analytics, what is going to happen. And third category, prescriptive analytics, what should happen. So that way you can talk about it saying, I've done data analysis doing descriptive analytics, predictive analytics. Prescriptive is a little difficult to do. So usually most of the organizations are focused a lot on the descriptive and a lot more interest is on the predictive part as well. So hope this helps you. Thank you. Any questions? Otherwise, we can ask Sister Rakhi to share another mind empowerment technique.
Hello. Hi, sir.
Yes.
Yes, my question was that I was software tester, but now I'm switching in software developer, which is in Python developer. I have learned the Python language. Now I have to move towards the two lines is going towards there. One is the towards the data analysis and data science, and another is for Python web developer. So I was asking that for when I was watching in the YouTube that they were telling that the for the AI you are going into the AI, so there is the less chance of getting the job. They are paying the much, but less chance of means job, less jobs are there. But in the job developer, there is a more job opportunities will be there. So is it correct or not? I want to
So
ask that.
it depends. It depends. Many times for a data analyst job, they'll because most of the type of analysis that you're doing is predictive. So to do predictive analytics, you need to know these algorithms. So you need to know what is deep learning. You need to know what is linear regression. You need to know what are support vector machines and so on. What are decision trees? What is random forest? These are some of the most common algorithms that a data analyst would need to know. We are in the very, very early stages, so we're not covering that, but we would cover it depending on the audience and what the interest is. But practically, those algorithms are used to do market basket analysis. If you are shopping, what are the things that you would typically add in your basket? How much does an average shopper spend? All that analysis is done using a data analyst would do that. One of the common algorithms to do that is random forest and so on. But you need to have a good understanding of those algorithms to do that. Because of that need, many times in the job description or in the job posting, they will put a requirement that you need to have an advanced degree, a master's, sometimes PhD as well, because you would know what parameters to pass in those algorithm. And that's why, it gets a little tricky. There are a lot of data science platforms now coming in the market where you don't have to understand the details of it. And there's a branch, something called as Auto ML, where it's becoming that threshold and that bar for having a master's degree or a PhD is becoming less and less significant because hiring masters and PhD for data analytics is expensive. Companies don't want to spend that. So there are tools in the market which is making it so easier to do data analysis by using a data science platform. So Anaconda is a good example. They are making it easy. You can drag and drop algorithms instead of even writing code. So there are data science platforms like Data IQ, Domo, and various others as well. But they're very expensive though. Knime, Knime, is another open source data science platform. But the more background you have to showcase that you know those algorithms will definitely help in getting the job. So yes, if you don't have any background, it will take you longer time. You would be better off with a QA background doing something on the cloud. Instead of Python on the development on the web front, I would go more on data engineering or data processing, moving data from one system to another system, using tools on the cloud like AWS Data Glue or on Azure using Azure Data Factory. How to use those tools and how to use Python within those tools, they also use the concept of a data frame. How would you move data from system A to system B using a data ingestion tool like Azure Data Factory or Glue? If you can showcase those use cases, you would have better chances of finding a job a lot quicker because you need to know Python. But the basics of data, how is that data moving from one system to the other, and how that data is being consumed for data analysis. So the more exposure you have, it always makes you a better data engineer as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Still use that question, would we learn how to retrieve data from both SQL and Excel at the same time? So data in Excel, we would save it as a CSV file, and you learn today how to load the CSV file into a data frame. Similarly, in Excel, you can pull data from a database, or many times you will export data out of a database as a CSV file, and then you can load that CSV file into a data frames. And you can merge data between two data frames by doing an inner join or an outer join. So you can do SQL type analysis by merging data in a data frame as well. So, yes, to answer your simple question, yes, we will be doing that as well. But we will be loading two data frames. We will be loading two data sets, two CSV file. One of that CSV file could have come from a database. We won't do that part. It's fairly easy to generate a flat file or a CSV file from a SQL table. Okay. If no more questions, we will get started with the mind empowerment technique. Thanks to all of you for attending.
For our mind empowerment today, we'll focus on one power that the deity Ganesha has. Vakratunda is one title given to Ganesha. And the meaning of Vakratunda means love and respect in all relations by having the power to destroy all negativity within. So let's empower ourselves with this title that I'm the destructor of all negative thoughts, negative attitudes, any unpleasant experiences. Instead of harboring them in my mind, I am a destructor of those. By keeping my mind clean and clear of all negativity, I am able to give love and respect to everyone in my relationships. O Lord Ganesha, the head of an elephant with the trunk, a very mighty trunk that can even pull off a heavy tree from its roots from the ground. At the same time, it can take small objects as well. Likewise, a person can. Lift off negativity from its very roots from our mind by destructing it. Having that power to end the negativity. So all can get love and respect. Because at the end of the day, each one of us desires being loved, being respected. And we attract what we give. That's the law of the universe. When I have a clean mind and a pure heart, and I'm able to love and respect even those who insult me, those who have wronged me. It is I who benefit. Because I vibrate in positivity, I vibrate in purity, a pure mind, a pure heart. We all have this quality in ourselves, but we make it conditional. Only when I receive love and respect will I give it. It's an if-then condition. So with that power, if I can waive this condition, and make it unconditional. I only gift myself and bless myself to feel good all the time, to feel negativity free. So it is I who benefit by liberating myself from negativity. And then taking it the next step forward by spreading positive love, respect. I only build my good karma. That is what Ganesh Chaturthi signifies. That is what the deity Ganesh stands for. A very sweet, loving, respectful deity. Whenever we see tales or hear about all the tales about this deity, all the stories, this is one deity that was amicable and won the hearts of all. So the power to dissolve, destruct negativity within. Will enable us to spread positivity, love and care and respect for others. And these qualities, these virtues, this behavior transforms a human into a deity. So truly a deity is not someone sitting on a pedestal in a temple. But a deity is actually a human with such divine pure virtues. And such a human with divinity. Represents the qualities of a deity, reminds everyone of deities, of virtues. So there's a deity within each one of us that we curb every day, every moment, by every negative experience or situation that comes to us. And these festivals and the presence of deities in temples is a constant reminder to us that we need to awaken our own deity within, our own deity form that we have been merging and killing all the time because we are influenced by the environment around us, by the negative behaviors around us. While at every moment we do have the choice to not let that negativity in, And even if it does enter our mind for a few seconds or minutes, we have the power, we have the choice to destroy that negativity. And be deity-like. Unaffected by everything around us. And only when we are unaffected, that's when we can give love and respect. That is power that every one of us inherently has within. We just have to choose to use it, to awaken it. And these festivals every year only come to remind us of this power and choice. So for the next few days, let's take the power and inspiration from Lord Ganesha and imbibe those virtues and qualities within. Even if we do it even once, the experience, the feeling that we get is so pleasant, so beautiful, that it will inspire us to keep doing it again and again. So just like programming, only when we do, we learn. Likewise, only when I choose and use the power I already have to dissolve the negativity, it's only then I will experience firsthand what rewards it brings to me. So empowerment is to be experienced by just taking one step. So happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. We wish all of you to have a great week ahead and look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening and a great week ahead. Thank you.